A fired janitor helped a choking man, unaware he just saved the CEO who'd give him a new future. That single sentence had been playing in Marcus Jenkins' mind all morning as he stood outside the gleaming Westbrook Enterprises building, cardboard box in hand, watching the last 7 years of his life fade into memory like breath on a winter window. The box felt too light for all those years. A coffee mug with his daughter's handprint, a small cactus that had survived the fluorescent lighting, a collection of thank you notes from employees who'd noticed the extra care he took with their spaces. Not much to show for nearly a decade of 4 a.m. starts and quiet, thankless labor. Budget cuts, they'd said, like his life could be reduced to a line item someone had simply crossed out with the stroke of a pen. The late November air bit at his exposed skin, seeping through his worn jacket that was a size too large. A thrift store find from 3 winters ago. Marcus shifted the box to his other arm, his calloused fingers already stiffening in the cold. 58 years old and starting over. Again, his apartment waited for him. Small, drafty, but still home for now. Rent was due in 2 weeks, and the severance check wouldn't stretch far enough to cover it in December's payment. Evie, his daughter, would be coming home from college for Christmas break soon. The thought of telling her made his chest tighten, like someone had tied a rope around his lungs and pulled. Dad's got everything under control. He'd assured her just last week during their Sunday call. Another lie in a long string of brave faces he'd put on since her mother died 6 years ago. Marcus took one last look at the building where he'd spent more nights than his own home, knowing every corner, every stain, every secret it held. Then he turned and walked away, his shoulders hunched against more than just the cold. The diner sat wedged between a laundromat and a pawn shop, its neon open, sign flickering inconsistently like a tired heartbeat. Inside, warmth and the smell of coffee provided temporary sanctuary. Marcus claimed his regular booth by the window, the vinyl seat cracked in familiar places. The usual mark, Doris, the waitress who'd been serving him breakfast for nearly 5 years, appeared with her pad already in hand. Just coffee today, Doris. She studied him over her reading glasses. Something's different. You're usually here after work, not before noon on a Tuesday. Her eyes drifted to the cardboard box he'd set on the seat beside him. Eperim. Budget cuts, he said again. The words no easier the second time. Doris's face softened. Without another word, she disappeared and returned moments later with a full coffee and a slice of apple pie. I didn't order. On the house, she said firmly, sliding into the seat across from him. My break's in 5 minutes anyway. The small kindness nearly broke him. Marcus stared at the steam rising from the mug, collecting himself before meeting her eyes. 7 years, he said quietly. Never missed a day. Not even when Evie had that flu and I was running between work and home every few hours. Their loss, Doris said with the fierce loyalty of someone who understood the dignity of hard work. You'll find something else. Marcus nodded, not trusting himself to speak. They both knew the truth of the job market for a man his age with a high school diploma and specialized skills in a dying profession. Evie comes home in 3 weeks, he finally said, stirring his coffee without drinking it. Smart girl, that one. Scholarship and all. Doris smiled. She takes after you. Got that same stubborn determination. Takes after her mother, Marcus corrected gently. I'm just the stubborn part. The bell above the door jingled, and Doris glanced over. Duty calls. Eat that pie, Marcus Jenkins. World keeps turning. Left alone, Marcus took a small bite. The sweetness felt wrong against the bitterness in his throat, but he ate it anyway, knowing that Doris would check the plate when she returned. The next 2 days passed in a blur of online job applications and unreturned phone calls. Marcus sat at his kitchen table. The ancient laptop he'd bought refurbished 3 years ago opened to yet another rejection email. Thank you for your interest, but we've decided to pursue candidates whose qualifications more closely match our needs. His qualifications. As if knowing how to bring gleaming life back to a marble floor, or remembering which executive preferred their office cleaned before 7 a.m. or after 6 p.m. weren't qualifications. As if the quiet dignity of making spaces beautiful for others wasn't a calling of its own. The apartment felt smaller somehow, the walls closer, the ceiling lower. Even with the heat turned down to save money, Marcus felt suffocated. He needed air, needed movement. Outside, the city was winding down for the evening, the last traces of sunlight disappearing behind the skyline. Marcus walked with no destination in mind, just one foot in front of the other, a rhythm to counteract the chaos in his mind. Dad, are you sure everything's okay? Evie had asked during their call last night. Of course, sweetheart. Just a little under the weather. The lies were getting easier, which worried him more than the truth ever could. 2 blocks turned into 10. The business district gave way to the more upscale part of downtown, where restaurants with cloth napkins and wine lists longer than novels catered to those who never had to check their account balance before ordering. Marcus slowed as he passed Ellison's, a steakhouse where he'd never set foot but had cleaned the offices above for years. Through the window, he could see men and women in business attire, laughing, clinking glasses, celebrating deals or promotions, or simply enjoying the security of knowing tomorrow was taken care of. He was about to turn away when a commotion caught his eye. Inside, a man in an expensive suit was on his feet, his face reddening, one hand clutching at his throat. The universal sign of distress, yet the people at his table seemed frozen in confusion or panic. Marcus didn't remember pushing through the door, didn't remember weaving between tables or reaching the man as he began to slump forward. All he knew was the muscle memory of the first aid training the building management had required every year. Training he'd never expected to use. "He's choking," Marcus announced, his voice carrying an authority that parted the small crowd gathering around the table. "Give him space." The man's eyes were wide with fear, bulging slightly as his face turned from red to a frightening purple-blue. Marcus positioned himself behind him, wrapped his arms around the man's midsection just below the rib cage, and performed a perfect Heimlich maneuver. 1 thrust. 2. On the third, a piece of steak shot from the man's mouth and skittered across the white tablecloth. The man gasped, sucking in great heaving breaths, color gradually returning to his face. He turned, still breathing hard, his eyes meeting Marcus's. "Thank you," he rasped, his voice barely audible. "I thought—" He couldn't finish the sentence. Marcus nodded, suddenly aware of his worn clothes, his calloused hands that had just been pressed against this stranger's expensive suit. "Anyone would have done the same," he said, already backing away as restaurant staff rushed forward with water. "Wait," the man called, but Marcus was already moving toward the door, uncomfortable with the stares from other diners. Outside, the night air felt cleaner somehow. Marcus took a deep breath, his heart still pounding from the adrenaline. He'd helped someone. It wasn't a job, wasn't going to pay his rent, but for a moment, he'd been necessary again. Useful. It was something. Morning arrived with thin gray light filtering through Marcus's bedroom window. He'd slept better than he had since losing his job, the physical and emotional exhaustion of the previous day granting him temporary reprieve from his worries. His phone buzzed on the nightstand, an unknown number. Probably another recruitment agency with nothing to offer a man his age. "Hello? Is this Marcus Jenkins?" A woman's voice, crisp and professional. "Yes, Mr. Jenkins, I'm calling on behalf of Mr. Richard Ellison, CEO of Ellison Global Partners. He would like to meet with you this morning, if you're available." Marcus sat up, fully awake now. "I'm sorry, I think you have the wrong person. Are you the gentleman who assisted Mr. Ellison at his restaurant last night when he was choking?" The realization hit Marcus like a physical force. The choking man hadn't been just any businessman. He'd been Richard Ellison, owner of not only the restaurant but the entire building Marcus had cleaned for years, along with half a dozen other properties downtown. "Yes, but Mr. Ellison would like to thank you personally. A car will pick you up in 1 hour if that's convenient." Marcus looked around his small bedroom, at the stack of unpaid bills on his dresser, at the suit he hadn't worn since Evie's high school graduation hanging on the closet door. 1 hour is fine," he heard himself say. 90 minutes later, Marcus found himself in an elevator ascending to the penthouse offices of Ellison Global Partners. His suit, freshly pressed but showing its age, felt constrictive after years of wearing the comfortable uniform of a janitor. The young woman who had met him in the lobby, Diane, she'd introduced herself, tapped away on her tablet beside him. "Mr. Ellison is very eager to meet you properly," she said as the elevator climbed. He was quite affected by what happened. Marcus nodded, unsure how to respond. The elevator doors opened directly into a reception area with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of the city. A city that from this height showed no signs of struggle or strain, just gleaming potential. "This way, please." Marcus followed Diane through double doors into a spacious office where Richard Ellison stood to greet him. In the daylight, without the panic distorting his features, Ellison was a distinguished-looking man in his early 60s, with silver gray hair and the confident posture of someone who had never questioned his place in the world. "Mr. Jenkins." Ellison extended his hand, his grip firm. "Please, sit down." They settled into a seating area near the windows, where coffee and pastries waited on a small table. Marcus perched on the edge of his chair, acutely aware of every scuff on his shoes, every worn thread in his suit. "I want to thank you properly for what you did last night," Ellison began. "The restaurant staff told me you left before I could speak with you." "It wasn't necessary," Marcus said. "Anyone would have done the same." "But they didn't." "You did." Ellison studied him. "Have we met before? Something about you seems familiar." Marcus hesitated. "I worked in this building until recently. Janitorial services." "Ah." Understanding crossed Ellison's face. "And now?" "Now I'm between positions." Ellison nodded slowly. "May I ask why you left?" "Budget cuts." The words still tasted bitter. The management company decided to consolidate services. Something flickered in Ellison's eyes. Annoyance, perhaps, or concern. "I see. And this management company works for me, though I wasn't consulted on these cuts." He leaned forward. "Mr. Jenkins, I believe in fate. Or at least I believe that sometimes the universe arranges things in ways we can't immediately understand. Last night, you saved my life. Today, I learn you've been working in my building for years without my knowledge, and have recently found yourself unemployed due to decisions made by people who answer to me." Marcus said nothing, uncertain where this was leading. "I have a proposition for you," Ellison continued. "My current facilities director is retiring next month. It's a position that oversees all building operations, maintenance, and janitorial services across our properties. Normally, we'd look for someone with management experience, but I find that people who know the work from the ground up often make the best leaders." The room seemed to tilt slightly. "Sir, I appreciate the thought, but the salary is $85,000 a year to start, with full benefits and quarterly performance bonuses." Ellison said this casually, as if the figure, more than double what Marcus had ever earned, was inconsequential. "You'd have an office here, a small staff to manage, and the authority to make decisions about building operations without interference from middle management." Marcus's mouth went dry. "Mr. Ellison, while I'm grateful, I think you may be overestimating my qualifications." "Am I?" Ellison rose and walked to his desk, retrieving a folder. "According to this, you've had perfect attendance for 7 years. Building managers consistently rated your work as exceptional. And I've had Diane do some research this morning. You took night classes in building systems management at the community college 3 years ago, though you didn't complete the certificate." "My wife got sick," Marcus said quietly. "I couldn't manage the classes and taking care of her and Evie." Ellison nodded. "Life happens, Mr. Jenkins. But the point is, you have both the hands-on experience and the theoretical knowledge. More importantly, you have something I value highly: character. Last night, you didn't hesitate to help a stranger, and you wanted no recognition for it." He returned to his seat. "The job is yours if you want it. Take some time to think about it if you need to." Marcus thought about the rent due in 10 days, about Evie coming home for Christmas, expecting the security she'd always known despite their modest circumstances, about starting over at 58. But he also thought about dignity, about earning this opportunity, not accepting charity. "I appreciate the offer more than I can say," he began carefully. "But I would need to earn this position, not receive it as a thank you gesture." Ellison smiled for the first time. "I thought you might say that. How about this? Take a 30-day trial period. Show me what you can do with the position. After that, we both decide if it's a good fit." Relief and something like hope spread through Marcus's chest. "That seems fair." "Excellent." Ellison stood, signaling the end of the meeting. "Report here Monday morning at 8 a.m. Diane will email you the details and arrange for your building access and credentials." As Marcus rose to leave, Ellison added, "And Mr. Jenkins, the budget cuts that cost you your job have been reversed, effective immediately. I'll be having a long conversation with the management company about consultation protocols." In the elevator descending to the lobby, Marcus's reflection stared back at him from the polished metal doors. Same face, same worn suit, same calloused hands. But something had changed. A straightening of the shoulders, perhaps. A lifting of the weight that had pressed him down for weeks. He thought again of the title that had been playing in his mind. A fired janitor helped a choking man, unaware he just saved the CEO who'd give him a new future. His story wasn't finished yet. The first day in his new role dawned bright and cold, sunlight glinting off the frosted windows of the Ellison building. Marcus arrived an hour early, his old habit of beginning days in darkness hard to break. The security guard did a double take when Marcus presented his new ID card. "Jenkins, didn't you used to clean the building?" "Yes." Marcus smiled. Things change. His new office, the very concept still strange in his mind, was on the 32nd floor, smaller than Ellison's, but with the same spectacular view. A desk, 2 visitor chairs, a computer that looked newer than anything Marcus had ever owned, and a nameplate, Marcus Jenkins, Director of Facilities Operations. He ran his fingers over the engraved letters, remembering how his name badge as a janitor had been a simple plastic tag, replaceable and unremarkable. A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. A young man in his 30s stood there, looking slightly confused. "Mr. Jenkins? I'm Tom Harrington, Assistant Facilities Manager. Mr. Ellison's office said I should report to you from now on." The first test, Marcus extended his hand. "Good to meet you, Tom. Please come in." Tom's discomfort was evident as he sat opposite Marcus. "So you're replacing Mr. Daniels when he retires?" "That's the plan," Marcus said evenly. "Though I understand this must seem unusual." Tom shifted in his seat. "It's just, you were on the cleaning staff last month. For 7 years, Marcus confirmed. "Which means I know this building inside and out. I know which tenants run their HVAC systems all night, which floors have persistent plumbing issues, and which security guards actually check the monitors instead of playing on their phones." Tom blinked, surprised. "What I don't know," Marcus continued, "is the administrative side of things. That's where I hope you can help me. I believe in learning from the people who know the job, not pretending I have all the answers." Some of the tension left Tom's shoulders. "That would be refreshing, actually." "Good. Let's start with you showing me what Mr. Daniels normally handles in a typical day." By lunchtime, Marcus's head was swimming with budget spreadsheets, vendor contracts, and staffing schedules. But beneath the overwhelm was a current of excitement he hadn't felt in years. This was a challenge, yes, but also an opportunity to make the building work better for everyone, including the invisible people who kept it running. Late afternoon found him in the basement mechanical room, explaining to Tom why the air circulation issues on the 24th floor weren't a duct problem, but a damper adjustment. "How do you know that?" Tom asked, watching Marcus confidently adjust settings on a control panel. "When you've worked nights as long as I have, you get curious. The night engineer, Hector, he taught me a lot on slow evenings." Marcus straightened up. "People like Hector know more about these buildings than anyone in management. We just rarely ask them." Tom was quiet for a moment. "Mr. Daniels would have called in the HVAC contractor. That would have been at least $2,000. "Exactly." Marcus smiled. "First lesson of facilities management. Respect the knowledge of the people who do the work every day." As they rode the elevator back upstairs, Tom asked, "So how did you end up—" He paused, clearly reconsidering his question. "How did a janitor end up in management?" Marcus finished for him. "I saved Mr. Ellison's life purely by accident. He could have written me a check as thanks. But instead, he's giving me a chance to prove myself. And I intend to." The elevator doors opened, and Richard Ellison himself stood waiting. "Ah, Jenkins. I was just coming to see how your first day is going." "Very well, sir. Tom has been extremely helpful." Marcus gestured to his assistant, who looked both surprised and pleased at the acknowledgement. "Excellent. I've scheduled a meeting for us tomorrow to discuss your initial observations and ideas. I'm particularly interested in efficiency improvements." Ellison's eyes held a challenge. "Impress me." After Ellison departed, Tom looked at Marcus with newfound respect. He never checked in on Mr. Daniels. "I've got a lot to prove," Marcus said simply. That night, Marcus sat at his kitchen table late into the evening, his notes spread before him, preparing for the meeting. His phone buzzed with a text from Evie. "Dad, is everything okay? You sounded different on our call yesterday. More, excited?" Marcus smiled and typed back, "Everything's changing, sweetheart. Good changes. I'll tell you all about it when you're home. Love you." He returned to his notes, circling key observations, making connections between issues that had seemed unrelated when viewed from the ground level. Tomorrow would be another test, but for the first time in years, Marcus was ready to be evaluated on the full measure of his capabilities, not just his willingness to work hard for little recognition. The days fell into a rhythm, each one a blend of challenges and small victories. Marcus arrived early, often walking the building before others arrived, seeing it with both his old janitor's eyes and his new manager's perspective. He learned the administrative systems quickly, his natural attention to detail serving him well. But it was his knowledge of the building's hidden workings and his rapport with the maintenance staff that proved most valuable. Within 2 weeks, he had implemented changes that reduced energy costs by nearly 8% and improved response times for tenant service requests by half. Word spread quickly throughout the building. The new facilities director was different. He knew your name if you worked security or emptied trash cans. He remembered which tenants needed special accommodations and which vendors had been overcharging for years. Even Ellison noticed the shift. "Jenkins," he said during their third weekly meeting, "I've had more positive feedback about building operations in the past 3 weeks than in the previous year. People respond when they feel seen and heard," Marcus replied. "Both the staff and the tenants." "Indeed." Ellison studied him thoughtfully. "Your trial period ends next week. I assume you wish to continue in the role permanently?" "Very much so, sir." "Then consider it done. Diane will have the paperwork ready tomorrow." Ellison rose, signaling the end of the meeting, then paused. "One more thing. The annual holiday party for building tenants is next Friday evening. As facilities director, you should attend." The thought of mingling with executives and business owners in a social setting made Marcus's stomach tighten. But he nodded. "Of course." "Bring your daughter," Ellison added. "Evie, right? I understand she's home from college for the holidays." Marcus blinked in surprise. "Yes, she arrived yesterday." "But how did you—" "I make it my business to know my key people, Jenkins." With that, Ellison was gone, leaving Marcus to wonder exactly how much research the CEO had done on him. That evening, Marcus's small apartment felt warmer, brighter with Evie's presence. At 20, she was the mirror image of her mother. The same determined chin, the same penetrating eyes that seemed to see right through excuses or half-truths. "Okay, Dad," she said as they finished the dinner he'd prepared. "You promised to explain all these good changes. You've been suspiciously vague about work ever since I got home." Marcus took a deep breath and told her everything. The firing, the chance encounter at the restaurant, Ellison's offer, and the past 3 weeks of proving himself. Evie listened without interrupting, her eyes widening at certain points, her hand reaching for his when he mentioned how close they'd come to not making rent. "Dad, why didn't you tell me you lost your job?" she asked when he finished. "I could have taken a semester off, work to help out." "Absolutely not," Marcus said firmly. "Your education comes first. Always. Your mother and I agreed on that before you were even born. But you've always been the one making sacrifices." Evie protested. "First when Mom got sick, then putting me through school. That's what parents do, sweetheart." Marcus squeezed her hand. "And now things are looking up. The new position is permanent as of today. We're going to be fine, better than fine." Evie studied him. "You're different. It's not just the job or the money. You seem lighter." Marcus considered this. "I think I am. For years I felt invisible, essential but unseen. Now I'm using everything I learned during those years to make real changes. It matters in a different way. I'm so proud of you." Evie's eyes shimmered. "And Mom would be too." The mention of her mother still brought an ache, but a gentler one now, tempered by time and the joy of seeing her in their daughter. "She'd be prouder of you. Full scholarship at Berkeley? She'd be telling everyone who would listen." Evie laughed. "Like you don't? Well, maybe I mention it occasionally." Marcus smiled. "Oh, and apparently we're invited to some fancy holiday party next Friday. Mr. Ellison specifically said to bring you—" "Wait, I get to meet the CEO who gave you this chance?" Evie sat up straighter. "I need a new dress." "Evie, you don't need to." "Dad." She fixed him with her mother's determined look. "This is important. We're doing this right." Marcus recognized the tone. Like mother, like daughter. There was no arguing when she'd made up her mind. The Ellison building's grand lobby had been transformed for the holiday party. Crystal chandeliers sparkled above, while tasteful decorations in silver and blue adorned the space. A string quartet played softly in one corner, and white-jacketed servers circulated with champagne and hors d'oeuvres. Marcus adjusted his new tie, a gift from Evie, who had insisted on taking him shopping after declaring his old suit a relic from another century. The new one fit properly, making him look more like the executive he was becoming than the janitor he had been. Beside him, Evie was radiant in a simple dark blue dress, her confidence evident as she accepted a glass of champagne from a passing server. The past week had been a revelation, watching his daughter navigate their changed circumstances with grace, helping him select appropriate attire, coaching him on small talk topics for the party. "There's Mr. Ellison," she whispered, nodding toward the center of the room where Richard Ellison was speaking with a small group. "Should we go say hello? Let's wait until he's less surrounded," Marcus suggested, still finding the prospect of socializing with his boss somewhat daunting. They didn't have to wait long. As if sensing their presence, Ellison looked up, spotted them, and excused himself from his conversation. "Jenkins," he said warmly, approaching them. "I'm glad you could make it. And this must be Evie." "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Ellison," Evie said, extending her hand with perfect poise. "Thank you for inviting me. The pleasure is mine." Ellison shook her hand, studying her with interest. "Your father has made quite an impression in a short time. Now I see where he gets his determination." "Actually, that comes from my mother," Evie replied with a smile. "Ah, yes." Something flickered across Ellison's face. Recognition, perhaps, or memory. "Marcus, would you mind if I borrowed your daughter for a moment? There are some people I'd like her to meet." Before Marcus could respond, Tom appeared at his side. "Mr. Jenkins, the mayor just arrived." "Mr. Daniels always greeted him personally since he's a friend of Mr. Ellison's." With a reassuring nod from Evie, Marcus followed Tom to welcome the mayor, slipping easily into his role as a representative of Ellison Global Partners. The transition still amazed him. How quickly he'd adapted to responsibilities that would have seemed impossible just a month ago. The evening flowed smoothly, with Marcus finding himself increasingly comfortable moving between conversations with tenants, city officials, and Ellison's business associates. Several times he caught glimpses of Evie engaged in animated discussion with various executives, her natural intelligence and charm evident even from a distance. It was nearly 11 when Ellison tapped a spoon against his glass, calling for attention. "Thank you all for joining us tonight," he began, his voice carrying effortlessly across the lobby. "The holiday season is a time for reflection, for gratitude, and sometimes for second chances." His eyes found Marcus in the crowd. "A month ago, I experienced one of those moments that clarifies everything. While dining at my restaurant, I began choking, a truly terrifying experience. When you cannot breathe, nothing else matters. Not wealth, not status, not business concerns." In that moment, a stranger stepped forward when others hesitated. He acted decisively, without thought of recognition or reward. Ellison gestured for Marcus to join him. Reluctantly, Marcus made his way forward, conscious of all eyes turning toward him. That stranger was Marcus Jenkins, now our Director of Facilities Operations. What I didn't know that night was that Marcus had worked in this very building for 7 years as part of our janitorial staff, only to lose his position due to ill-considered budget cuts just days before our encounter. A murmur ran through the crowd. Marcus felt heat rising in his face, uncomfortable with being the center of attention. "The universe has a way of correcting injustices," Ellison continued. "In the past month, Marcus has revolutionized our building operations, proving that sometimes the most valuable perspectives come from unexpected places. He's reminded me of something I'd forgotten in my years of corner offices and board meetings. Every person in an organization matters. Every role has dignity and value." Ellison raised his glass. "So tonight I'd like to propose a toast to Marcus Jenkins, who saved my life and then proceeded to save me from my own corporate short-sightedness. And to second chances, which sometimes benefit the giver as much as the receiver." The crowd applauded, glasses raised. Marcus nodded in acknowledgement, fighting the emotion that threatened to overwhelm him. Across the room, he caught Evie's eye, her face shining with pride, tears tracking silently down her cheeks. As the party resumed, Ellison spoke quietly to Marcus. "I hope you didn't mind the public recognition. Some stories deserve to be told." "It was unnecessary, but thank you," Marcus replied, "though I'm still not entirely comfortable being in the spotlight." "You'll adjust," Ellison said with confidence. "Jenkins, there's something else I've been meaning to discuss with you. I've been impressed not just with your work, but with your perspective. I'm forming a new advisory committee focused on workplace equity and operational excellence. I'd like you to be part of it." Marcus raised his eyebrows. "Sir, your journey from janitor to executive gives you insights no one else in my organization possesses. We need that voice at the table." Ellison's expression grew serious. Too many companies waste human potential because they focus on titles and credentials rather than capability and character. I'd like Ellison Global to be different. The weight of the opportunity settled on Marcus. Not just a job now, but a chance to change systems that had nearly broken him. I would be honored. Later, as Marcus and Evie walked to the car he'd recently been able to purchase, a modest used sedan, but reliable in his, she linked her arm through his. "You know what I realized tonight, Dad? You're changing lives." Marcus shook his head. "I'm just doing my job." "No," Evie insisted. "I talked with so many people tonight. The security guards, the catering staff, even some of the executives. They all said the same thing. Since you took over, they feel seen, heard, valued. She squeezed his arm. That's your real gift. It always has been. Under the winter stars, Marcus contemplated how completely his life had transformed in just 1 month. From the despair of unemployment to a career beyond anything he could have imagined. From invisibility to recognition, from struggle to security. All because he happened to be in the right place at the right time, with the right skills and the willingness to help a stranger. You know, he said softly as they reached the car. Your mother used to say something when things got really hard after her diagnosis. She'd say, the universe provides what you need, but rarely in the package you expect. Evie smiled through fresh tears. She was right. She usually was. Marcus looked back at the Ellison building, its windows glowing against the night sky. A fired janitor helped a choking man, unaware he just saved the CEO who'd give him a new future. He shook his head in wonder. Life writes stories we could never imagine for ourselves. And this one's just getting started, Evie said, her voice full of certainty and hope. Marcus nodded, feeling the truth of it settle in his chest like the warmth of coming home after a long, cold journey. Yes, he agreed, I believe it is.